I want to tell you a story. It's not my story. It's a story that might be familiar to some of you, but bear with me. There was a boy who dreamt a lot about building or making the perfect snowball. And he tried a lot. Every winter he'd go and he'd start patting snow, fresh snow into it. And it never worked out. And then he suddenly realized that, I need a core. I need a good core, like a good idea. So he took a great stone and he chiseled away at it till he got to a perfectly rounded sphere. And then he put the snow on top of that. He had a great strong core, like a good idea, like a good startup. And then he took that snowball and started to push it, roll it on the freshly fallen snow. And he started to push it uphill where the better snow was. And suddenly it was getting bigger. He was gaining momentum. People were starting to take notice, right? There were others around who were saying, "What's that guy doing? Let's go join him. He looks like he's building a big snowball and he's gaining a lot." So they started to, help him. They got to the top of the mountain and the little boy was really proud. But now suddenly the credit was shared by everyone because they'd all helped. But it was his idea. And he wanted to go to a higher mountain. But they said to him, "Look, don't bother with that. Why don't you just push it downhill? It'll get really big and we'll gain a lot. And you just have to roll it. You don't have to push it." So he thought, okay, maybe he was just tired. And he said, "Okay, let's do that. Let's roll it downhill." So he started to do that. And this snowball was rolling downhill. He lost track of it. But all the other boys got control of it. And they started chasing it down the hill. But they didn't care as much. So after a bit, when it got too hard, they just, let it go. But what was happening to the snowball? It was picking up all sorts of rubbish. Suddenly, it wasn't so perfect anymore. Yes, it was becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. It was gaining a lot. But it wasn't that perfect snowball. It wasn't core. It wasn't as pure as this little boy thought it was. But then it started to gain its own momentum. It was crashing down towards the valley. And finally, it got to the bottom. And with a thundering clap, when it got to the bottom of the valley, as many giant ideas and companies do, it shattered. It fell to pieces because it didn't have pure integrity that held it together. And suddenly there was no one around. There was no one but that little boy. And what he found on the floor was that little perfect sphere. And the little boy picked it up, turned around, and went straight back up that mountain. And he vowed that he'd never let anyone take that idea from him. So this So this was a book that Ranjan wrote about, I think, 12 years ago, maybe 14 years ago. And about 11 years ago, when I left India, he sent it to me with a simple note that said, "I hope that you never lose control over your snowball." And this is my salute to him. And my wish to all of you, whether you're a startup with an idea, or starting your career, or running a great business, or running a business that's been running for a century, right? I wish you the same. I wish that you always have control over your perfect snowball. Thank you.